Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 99, and today is December 20th, 2021. That's right, you heard me, episode 99. Ba-ba. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my princely co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Give you a second to think about that one.
I don't get it.
Because tonight we're gonna party like it's 1999. So, anyway,
it's important
before we get started,
stretch.
I like it.
Listen, I liked it. Before we get started, we want to remind you that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. That means if there is something in the Cosmere you haven't read and you're worried about hearing spoilers, you might want to go read those first, come back, and join the discussion. Who knows if there will be spoilers tonight, because we are talking about the state of the Sanderson 2021. Yeah. Yesterday was Koloss Head-Munching Day, and as we all know, with Koloss Head-Munching Day comes the state of the Sanderson.
Yes.
Yeah, we're sort of moving from big event to big event to big event.
Yeah, we've kind of got a Brandon Avalanche of 2021 going on right now.
Hey,
yeah.
It's now happening in real life. Oh dear.
Yep, and it doesn't get less intense. Meanwhile, for those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we do want to remind you, you can join us and interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/InKeepersTable. We record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and take an active part in the discussion. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/CosmereStudies. Even pledging $1 or $2 per episode really helps us out as we work to improve the quality of the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners. And it's a great community with a lot of great discussions. You'll also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and other great stuff.
And you get the cards too on Koloss Head-Munching Day.
Yes, you do.
It's like $5, right?
At a certain level.
Yes.
And this week we want to send a shout out to our newest patron, Joshua V. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Another Josh, huh?
Another Josh.
It's a Josh's world, apparently. They're just everywhere.
We all just live in it.
All right, so guys, for this year's State of the Sanderson, I kind of got some inspiration at Dragonsteel Minicon this year. So, for those of you who are not aware, Dan Wells, Brandon's friend, co-conspirator, and partner in crime.
Yeah, now co-author.
I know, yeah.
Yep. He often will have a screening of his favorite movie of all time, Jaws. But the way he does it is interesting. So what they'll do is they'll start at the beginning, and at any point, anyone in the audience can raise their hand and say, stop. They will immediately stop the movie and discuss what's going on the screen at that moment. Which means, of course, these screenings tend to go on for longer than the typical runtime of the movie. But they get some really cool discussions. And so I'm thinking that actually might be the best way to handle the state of the Sanderson for this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking we just start at the beginning, read through, and at any point, any of the three of us can say stop, and we'll just say, okay, and we'll just start diving into to that section of the state of Sanderson, talking about what it means, what's going on, and just sort of go from there. Mm-hmm. And in our chat, if somebody wants to type stop in all caps, there may be a little bit of lag, but we'll try and pay attention to that as well. But yeah, so if there's just something that stands out to us, we'll dig in. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
We ready?
I dig it.
Okay. So, from the beginning. Welcome to my yearly wrap-up. In this essay, I'll talk about projects recently released, ones upcoming, and ones in limbo. It's usually a very long post, so feel free to jump to the section that interests you most using the following handy set of links. And there's a set of links that I'm not going to read all the way through.
Stop.
Introduction. Did you just say stop?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
How long has he been doing the State of the Sanderson?
Oh, it's been at least 4 or 5 years. Probably
Oh,
longer.
no, much longer than that.
Yeah.
He did the State of the Sanderson for years before we ever started, and we've been going for almost 4 years.
Oh my, time is a strange thing.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah, like I just had a kid birthday, and so, like, he's way older than I'm. Like, you're how old now? What? So, time is crazy.
It's true. All right. We good to go? Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it me, or does it feel like this year just kind of vanished into vapors? I can't believe we're already back to December, and I'm working on another State of the Sanderson. After 2020, which felt like it lasted an eternity, perhaps I should be grateful. At the same time, it feels really soon to be gearing up for the daunting task of writing another Stormlight book, and Book 5, the final volume of the first sequence, at that.
Stop! I pretty
My
much squeed when I saw that he said that. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be Stormlight next year. All the writing of Stormlight. So, very excited.
You'll be starting that in a little over a
January?
week.
Yeah.
Almost 2 weeks. Not quite.
Yeah.
Also, my apologies. My cough still hasn't gone away. I don't know what's going on, but my apologies. Regardless, I continue to be deeply grateful to all of you who continue to follow me on this journey. It's been a strange year for me for more than one reason. Eventually, perhaps I'll be able to explain more of why that is, but for now, it's time for the State of the Sanderson, my yearly wrap-up post where I tell you in depth about everything I'm working on.
Stop.
Warning.
Just that eventually perhaps I'll be able to explain more of why it is. He just raffoed us.
Just what is that? I mean, it's probably something that we don't need to know about, but it still makes us curious.
It's not even a raffo, it's a waffo. It's a wait and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a whamfo. It's a wait and maybe find out.
Yeah.
I know.
We'll be sitting here like, it's some Q&A in 2042. And it'll be, Brandon, in 2021, when you said eventually perhaps I'll be able to explain why this was 2021 was a weird reason. Can you go into that?
Just Brandon on his deathbed.
No.
Raffo. Warning, these things are usually pretty long. They stay up all year, available prominently on my website. For reference, last year's State of the Sanderson can be found at a link. Enough of an introduction then, let's get into it. Part 1, my year. Like always, I keep tabs on everything I did through the year via a spreadsheet. Usually this lists all of my trips and tours also, but there were barely any of those this year. So we'll just talk about the books I worked on.
That's probably why it was such a productive year.
Indeed. January 1st through March 31st. And if you look at just how many things came out this year and how many are coming out next year.
A lot.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on in the post. Mm-hmm. So January 1st through March 31st, Cytonic and Sunreach. I spent the bulk of the first part of my year in the Cytoverse working hard on 2 stories that are both now out. Cytonic, Book 3 in the Skyward series, came out last month. Thanks to all who attended the convention and who supported the book in its first few weeks. Stop.
That was us.
We were at the convention and we supported the book in its first few weeks.
And Brandon bought us ribs.
Or at least he financed the ribs that were provided for
and
us.
So much delicious food.
Yeah.
And a huge booth.
I want more convention churros.
We outsold the previous book in the same time frame, which is one of the most important metrics for book sales. Now, that's an interesting statement. I didn't realize that better than last year. I mean, it makes sense that it would be, but I just never really thought of it as a metric, per se.
Yeah.
It's also interesting just because it kind of because you would think like, oh, a sequel, it's only going to be the same people buying again, so you'd expect similar numbers, but it kind of shows the excitement for it, where it's a bunch of the people who bought it before, but maybe came a lot later to the party, are now at the front of the line.
Exactly.
Or even that they told more of their friends and now their friends are into it too. And so it's gaining more people who are buying the first books later, but now they're buying their current book.
Sort of like, what's our most viewed episode? The first one.
In case you haven't seen yet, I also co-wrote a series of novellas in the Skyward series with my good friend Jancy Patterson. The first 2 of those are out, with the third one, starring Jorgen, coming right after Christmas. I hope you'll check them out. They're a lot of fun and add some important backstory to what other characters are doing during the events of Cytonic. April 1st
So I do think this is the biggest thing as far as the future of Brandon is his co-authoring stuff. Because
well, it's really... Yeah, it's interesting because last year he talked about, I think it was last year, it may have been 2 years ago.
Yes, it was last year because I started rereading that on accident.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about it. I was like, wait a minute. This feels really familiar.
Yeah,
what is going on?
Because he was basically saying, if I
glitch
want
in
to
the
get the
Matrix
Cosmere finished by the time I'm 90, I have to
have some help.
Yeah, because he has other stories that he wants to tell. And he's like, if I'm going to focus on the Cosmere, I'm going to need to outsource
Share.
some of these stories and work with other writers. And that's kind of what this whole post feels like it's about, is there's a lot of co-authors.
Yeah, well, and on top of it, it's just one of the big things that I think takes up a lot of his time, but I'm willing to bet he views it as both a greater investment and a personal one, is his teaching of his college course. But it's through the college course that he's gained a lot of his contacts, because his writers are kind of starting to, I mean, Charlie being one of them. They're out there, and it's letting him, as a sort of a mentor, he's having a very personal relationship with these writers, and I think it's helping him in the process of learning how to work with other writers.
Also, special shout out, my friend Rachel just got into Brandon's class for next semester, so that's just exciting.
Yeah, what was it, like 1 out of every 100 or something people who want to?
There's like 15 people in the class or something like that.
It's a very small group. Because there's the lecture, and then there's sort of the small subsection where Brandon will actually critique some of their work and stuff.
Yeah, because anyone could watch the lectures.
Yeah.
Yeah, he posts those on YouTube. Okay, April 1st through September 20th, The Lost Metal, Read On, Evershore. Most of this extended stretch was spent working on the final book of the Wax and Wayne series of Mistborn books. It should be out for Christmas 2022. This was a longer write than the other Wax and Wayne books, as I increased the book length by 50% and gave the story a little more outlining time to make certain to wrap up things in style. Stop.
Yeah.
So the 50%, I didn't realize it was 50%. That's crazy, and I love it.
Well, I remember the comparison between just Alloy of Law and then Shadows of Self and Bands of Mourning. Those are significantly bigger than Alloy of Law was. 50% more. It's a chunky book. It's close to the size of the original Mistborn trilogy books.
I'm all for this.
Yes.
I'm absolutely for this. It'll be interesting to see where we go with it.
As someone who's a Mistborn firster, this is. I'm like, yeah, let's just start up a new Stormlight Archive-sized story on Scadrial. I'm good with that.
It'd be great.
The Scadrialite Archive. While working on that, I also managed to get work done on the other 2 of the 3 novellas I wrote with Jancy. Basically, anytime I needed a break from Wax and Wayne, there was something else to work on, so I had a nice rhythm here. I dove right into the 2.0 of Wax and Wayne once the 1.0 was done, and the beta reads finished up in November. September 21st through October 31st, various revisions and consulting. After getting that second Wax and Wayne draft done, there were just a lot of little things demanding my attention that I've been putting off. Some Wheel of Time scripts, some work on the various film projects for my other series, and loose ends of various other things I needed to do. All of this kept me busy until near the end of October, and so I decided to spin my wheels a little.
It must be wheels.
Brandon, what are you doing?
He's spinning his heels
He's got Heelys, obviously, like those shoes.
I think he needs to see a doctor.
Okay, now I really want to just imagine Brandon on Heelys scooting around Cosmere House. It's more efficient.
Yeah, why not? Until I could do NaNoWriMo officially starting November 1st, which takes us to November 1st through the end of December, Defiant. One of my goals this year was to tie up both Wax and Wayne in the Skyward series, at least the Spencer arc of it, see below. Stop.
What?
I was thinking Brandon needs to stop expanding these series. Like, I think that Skyward was originally meant to be like a 2-book series.
I don't remember how much it was supposed to be at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know.
And now, the 4-book series with 3,
novellas.
3 novellas as well, is just a small arc of it. Like, just finish a series, Brandon. Finish it. Let it be done. Let it rest. Let it...
I wonder if part of the other reason he's doing so much with co-authoring is it'll let him actually open up more sizable projects that he can co-author with other people.
They're just small fiefdoms.
Because I wonder if it's going to
empire.
be that like the second arc or whatever is going to be just Jancy doing it and he'll consult with it or add little bits to it or something, or if it's going to be him writing the bulk of it. I don't know.
Which, honestly, having listened to the first 2 novellas, the ones that are out, I'm for that. She did a great job.
Mm-hmm. I need to read Alanik. That's the one that I need to read next.
Read on, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Read on? Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm calling it by the character's name instead.
Alanik is the character. That's fine.
Yes.
Assuming I can finish up this month strongly, I should be able to do that as far as rough drafts are concerned. I'll still need to do some revisions on Defiant next year, but all of the actual writing should be finished, making both of these series a wrap. That leaves me free to tackle Stormlight 5 all next year. We don't need to stop. That's just happiness.
I'm sure he'll be able to do it very easily. What could go wrong?
Jordan, don't invoke Murphy.
I'm going to knock on all the wood. Knock on all the wood.
I would knock on wood here, but I've learned very quickly this is particle board at best that my mom has, and it's got a wood. It's got a wood veneer that comes off at the slightest touch.
This is a very heavy wooden desk that I'm at. It's my husband's grandfather's desk. Yeah.
Jordan, I feel like there's something metaphorical about what you just said. The wood veneer that comes off at the slightest touch.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
It's not. It's actually literal. There's no metaphor here.
Ah, I see.
Part 2, Mainframe. As I mentioned above, Jancy and I have co-written 3 novellas in the Skyward series. Those joined the original and Lux as stories created as part of my Mainframe project. Mainframe being an audiobook company I created with my good friend and all-around excellent guy, Max Epstein. Max is the driving force behind Mainframe. He was also one of the first people in Hollywood to see the value in my work as it relates to film. We've got a couple more projects coming in 2022 that I'm excited about, so I'm going to let him tell you about them here. Voice change.
Stop.
Jordan, why don't... Okay.
You want me to do it?
No, I want to stop first. The one complaint I have about this thing, when he does a voice change, I don't know. I personally want all their text in like italics or something. Or
Exactly.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I followed it okay, but...
Or at least like a line break or something. Like
I need something.
Straight line.
I need something. I want to talk to Brandon's, memo writer, whoever this is. All right. Thanks, Brandon. As I mentioned above, throughout and below, by the end of this year, we will have successfully released 4 projects. And of course, we have more on the way, 2 of which are currently scheduled for release in 2022. Both are with our partners at Recorded Books, who have been excellent. Stop. Recorded Books is the most lazy name for an audiobook company. And
it's obvious is what it is.
Yeah, but the SEO is amazing.
It really is. Anyway, it's almost like I saw the picture on the internet, the dental company called Dentist Near You.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, like, man, that is an SEO gold mine.
Because you'll look for it and then, yep, there you go.
All right. The first is the audio exclusive Stephen Leeds Death and Faxes.
I'm going to say stop, but keep going.
No,
because I want to discuss this after we get the context that's about to come.
It's the best name ever. I love puns like this. Anyway, this is a new Leeds story within the Legion universe. and then I can't figure out with a co-writer. There's a weird comma in it.
I think the comma is the typo.
Is it?
No, it's actually.
Is it?
It would either be within the Legion universe, period, or within the Legion universe, comma, with a co-writer, close bracket, period.
I haven't ever seen it do that before.
Yeah,
it works. It's proper.
All right. While we could have released this in 2021, our primary decision to push this to 2022 was because of the 4 months of back-to-back Cytoverse releases, which will culminate with Evershore in a few weeks. We were very excited about Leeds and can confirm that we have the wonderful Oliver Wyman back in the booth as narrator. More information to come as we get closer to our June 2022 release.
Stop. Okay. I love the Stephen Leeds books. I absolutely love the Stephen Leeds books.
I think I've read the first one.
I've only read the first one, and
they're incredibly short.
I think I have the trilogy. I just haven't read it yet.
The third one gets dark. Not like bad dark, but it just goes into a very interesting space. But it also was a very good wrap up to the Stephen Leeds series. So I'm interested in why we have another Stephen Leeds book coming out. I felt like the story was actually very well told. There's room for more to happen, but
is there like a prominent side character that could maybe follow it instead?
No, this is definitely about Stephen Leeds. I mean, like,
okay, yeah, the title would, yeah.
The title is Stephen Leeds, so it's But that said, Legion was originally written kind of as a treatment for a potential police procedural style of show. And and Brandon has talked about doing that with audiobooks and co-writers and stuff like that. So there's potential for that, but it's interesting to me because, again, with that trilogy, it felt very well wrapped up. And so the fact that he's coming back to it, I think, is interesting. Also, I am thrilled that Oliver Wyman is back as the narrator because he's one of the best audiobook narrators I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's good. All right, Death and Faxes will be followed up later in 2022 by Dark One, Forgotten, an audio series that ties with the larger Dark One universe that Brandon has created. Dan Wells co-wrote this with Brandon.
Stop! I'm super excited that Dan Wells wrote it because he does all the horror stuff and it's going to be fun. So that's all I had to say.
Well, and Dark One isn't necessarily horror, but it's weird, and that's another thing that Dan
does. It could easily go into that kind of vibe and stuff.
Weird is the correct term, because that was sort of the original genre. They called things like H.P. Lovecraft. It was called the weird genre, and they didn't really, because they didn't really know what to call it. And so this definitely has a weirdness to it that is appropriate.
But thankfully without the racism and everything else.
Yes.
That goes
with
Lovecraft.
The racism.
So,
let's see. Along with
the parentheses, yep.
Yeah, along with the larger Dark One novel that we'll be releasing after Forgotten, though likely not until 2023. We're all very excited about how the pages for Forgotten have turned out, and we can't wait for you to hear them. We're currently planning on 6 episodes with a full cast, sound design, and music.
Stop. Okay, so first off, have either of y'all read Dark One?
Yes.
I have not.
Okay. I haven't read all of it. I've read about a quarter of it. I was in a very weird headspace at the time, and I was just like, I don't need to be reading this right now, so I set it aside. But it was fascinating what I was reading.
It gets so much more interesting as you get to the end of it. Like,
I believe it
throws some serious curveballs at you that I'm like, what?
And Dark One is a series that Brandon has talked about a lot of cross media. You know, because it starts off with this graphic novel. Now he's having the audio production with a full cast sound design. So it sounds like they're really going all out on this.
Which is actually a throwback, because that's what he said he originally kind of wanted to do with not the broadsheets, but I'm trying to remember what it was in the Mistborn era too.
With the Alamancer Jax?
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah, because it was him and his brother. They talked about doing a full-blown audio drama for Alamancer Jack, and then they sort of pared it down into something a little more digestible. But like
I
the
hadn't
seed,
realized that.
yeah, the seeds of this have been there for a while. It's clearly something that I'd be willing to bet it's something his brother's been pushing for.
Well, and there's even talk of like I think there was like an animated series or something connected to it at some point. You know, this was, who knows if that's still even in the works at all, but it's just like he was talking about doing a lot of cross-media stuff.
Yeah.
Well, very exciting stuff in the year ahead with more to follow shortly.
Okay. Part 3, updates of primary projects, the Stormlight Archive. I didn't do much work on Stormlight this year as my focus was on other series, but I did want to mention that we plan to get Dawnshard in audio out very soon. Hopefully within the next few months. Max, with Mainframe, has created the audio for it via the always excellent Kate Redding and Michael Kramer. Obviously, the big motion on this series will happen with Stormlight 5 starting in January, with a target for a Christmas 2023 release.
So
it could end up...
I want to stop here real quick. What's interesting here is Max with Mainframe. It's interesting that created their own audiobook company, and it makes me wonder what behind-the-scenes advantages this gives.
Well, I couldn't remember if it was this one or the previous one, but he mentioned, I think it must have been 2020 when they were talking about it, where they were saying that, like, I don't think they directly stated they were being hampered by having to go through other companies, but that was kind of the feeling that I got from when I read it, is that there were just too many people going, well, I don't know if that's really the thing that people are going to want to listen to or read or whatever else. And there's Brandon and Max going, no, this is what we want to write what I want to write. And so it's, I think by having their own company, yes, there are more costs and different things involved, but by having Max apparently be in charge of most of the nuts and bolts of it, Brandon can get out these projects that he wants to in audio that have been hindered in the past, is the feeling I got from it.
Well, and I wonder if part of it is like, oh, we want to try and do an audio drama.
That's just weird. No, we're not going to do that. You know?
And so,
then it's like, well, I don't want to. I want to do it. So
basically, I see Brandon sticking his hand in the Infinity Gauntlet and saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
I hope that's a meme somewhere. I need that to be a meme.
Brandon Thanoson.
Oh yeah.
Or just Sanderson.
Sanderson, yes.
Oh boy. Let's see where with a target for a Christmas 2023 release. It could end up coming out in the spring of 2024, depending on how difficult to write it is. So the other thing that's interesting about that is that wouldn't line up with a if they continue to do it in November with the Dragonsteel Minicon. Mm-hmm. Now, if they just have Dragonsteel Minicon follow around whatever the big release is going to be, that might be one thing. But of course, then it's harder for people to plan to attend.
Yeah.
So,
I hope they stick with just November, and it could just be a ton. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're making an entire mini career on just building up hype for things. So I'm personally very okay with a couple months before it comes out, just building up intense hype. But that might not sell as much merch, so who knows?
Yeah.
Also, I will very likely do a rock novella as part of the Words of Radiance Leatherbound Kickstarter in the summer of 2023.
Stop.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to hear more confirmed news that rock is going to have a thing.
I don't know. I think this is weird to do, like this weird like rock and roll thing. I would personally go in a different direction, not make it a musical thing.
I don't know. I mean, we know from Moana that Dwayne Johnson can sing.
It's true.
So.
You're welcome.
Man, what if they just release the rock novella, but it's all in like some sort of musical thing, and it's just meant to be a sing-along?
Oh gosh.
Brandon really wants to stretch himself as a writer.
And the speculated title I've heard for that one is Horn Eater. I don't know if that will be the case, because Edge Dancer, Dawnshard, Horn Eater, so far, we've got descriptive. We've got the single compound word titles. Edge, Dancer, Dawn,
Brandon
Shard.
does like his themes.
Horn Eater. Yeah.
Yes, he does. Let's see. Also, I will... Okay. So check back for updates as I work through the book, which will include Zeth's flashback sequence. Looking forward to that, because then we're going to get a lot more about the whole Truthless of Shinovar. Like, we've gotten looks at it and his training.
And it's also going to be Gavilar's prologue.
Yes, it will be Gavilar's prologue.
So that'll be cool.
And not to be insulting, but I bet it'll be a lot more interesting than Eshonai and Vanley.
Well, I think the main problem with Eshonai and Vinley's flashbacks was there was very little told that we didn't already know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice to get some of those extra details, but we knew a lot of what was going on.
It was an interesting look, but it wasn't the new information that we got from Kaladin's and Shallan's and Dalinar's.
Yeah, because those were full of just absolute jaw-dropping moments. Or tear-jerking moments.
Yeah.
And this
heart-wrenching. All those things.
And it's just sort of like, I mean, this is... I've seen this play before. I
don't have a huge problem with it, but it
just wasn't as interesting.
Yeah, there wasn't as much of a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay. Skyward and the Cytoverse. As I've talked about already, Cytonic and 2 of the novellas are out. While I'm writing this, I'm around 2/3 of the way through the final novel, which, with the Jorgen novella out this month, will mark the end of this first sequence. Turns out Jancy and I had a lot of fun working together on the novellas. Our plan was to do another set of them between books 3 and 4, but the timing was tight on these first ones, and that was a tad stressful. So we're now working on doing some follow-ups to the first 4-book series. And again, the first 4-book series. What? Suddenly, and I was thinking, oh, good, Brandon's going to finish a series and he's going to have something in the back. Nope. We've brought on Darcy Cole, an excellent writer and one of the beta readers on the Skyward series, as a co-writer as well. Stop. Amy, didn't you trade with both of them? I
think Darcy may have already left because she was in the very end.
Yeah, because Darcy and Jancy were right next to each other.
But with Jancy and whoever was at the other Witters, I think Kara Witters was the other person at that table. So yeah, there was a bunch of authors across from us that I did dice exchange for books. So yeah, so I got to do that, which was fun.
Remember when she bribed people with dice? That happened.
I didn't bribe. I bartered. Barter. It's fine.
You bribed them to give you stuff. Together, we're deciding where to take the Cytoverse and what the right things will be to bring to you after Defiant is done. There will be more, but Book 4 also involves some major changes and interesting turns. So I won't say more now, other than that if you love the series, I can promise you more is coming. This isn't my favorite of his series, but I know a lot of people who love it, and I'm glad that they'll be getting more. So, Mistborn. Wax and Wayne 4, The Lost Metal, is done, and the beta readers have already finished going through it. One of my jobs will be to get a 3.0 draft of it done in the coming months, opposite working on Stormlight 5. As many of you may know...
I like that there's an exclamation point in this paragraph, because that definitely follows my own feelings about it being done. 2, it's interesting having gone to the editing panel that was at Dragonsteel Minicon when he's saying a 3.0 draft. I now understand that the 3.0 draft is like the big one, and after that's when they go real fine-tooth comb over everything. And it's just sort of, I don't know, it's just, now I know what a 3.0 draft involves.
As many of you may know, I do 2 writing sessions and I'm putting this in quotations, day. The first one from around 1 until 5 p.m. and the second one from around 10 to 2 a.m. In 2022, I'm going to try doing something new. Writing prose on Stormlight in the afternoon session.
Stop.
Then doing...
I'm going to try doing something new, and I really thought reading this, the next words were going to be sleeping.
He sleeps, just different hours than a lot of different people.
He sleeps. He just, does it different than the rest of us. Writing prose on Stormlight in the afternoon session, then doing revisions on Mistborn in the evening session. Late night morning session.
10 is an evening.
Twilight session. when
The
Brandon,
witching hour session.
yeah,
That
when
word is
Brandon
ruined
comes
for
out
me.
and
Twilight has been ruined for me.
and the Fae folk come out to converse with Brandon on how to properly write. We don't know
curious-
there isn't a fairy circle in his backyard.
Well, no.
We can't confirm that is not the case.
You cannot confirm nor deny.
I'm curious whether this works for me, and if so, whether it's better or worse for my pace and my enjoyment of the process. I'll bring you some updates as I proceed. I like that because it sounds like he's just like, I'm trying something new. If it doesn't work, I'll pivot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
part 4.
I mean, he does need to experiment because, like he said, he's looking for ways to change things up and to get himself out of, because if you do
like I
things
said,
only the same way, you'll get the same results.
The thing is, the Brandon of today is very different from the Brandon when I first started reading his books, because he has gotten a lot more ambitious as he's built this team around him and has grown his capabilities. He's now realizing I can do more. And so he really is building kind of an empire, a media empire.
And he
Thus
has people to
begins
do
the
all the other stuff.
1,000-year reign of Brandon Sanderson.
All the Sanderbots.
But
be great.
because of that, now he's got these, International Batman Inc. co-writers.
I'm proud of him for that
that
reference.
I threw that in for you, Jordan.
It's a good reference.
But so he's outsourcing a lot of this stuff to writers that he has personally vetted. So because he just has so many stories that he wants to tell. And so he has more stories to tell than he has the ability to tell himself. So he's having other people tell those stories as well. Okay. Part 4, updates on secondary projects, the Alcatraz series. As I warned you last year, 2021 was going to be spent on repackaging this series and getting the art for the 6th book done. I also co-wrote this one with Jancy as I got about halfway through it back in 2014 and got stumped on something, so I went to her for help both with that and with smoothing out the character voice. This one is from Bastile's viewpoint.
Okay,
so there's
stop there. I haven't read the Alcatraz series, but this is the other really interesting part about the team of, even beyond just the Dragonsteel team, the team of writers he's put together.
Yes,
he can hand off a project completely to someone else and just being like, I don't know, it's stuck. I need you to see if you can just
poke it with a stick.
Yeah. And like that's kind of an awesome luxury very few writers really could ever have.
Well, and he's built that.
Yeah.
Like that. He's built these relationships and set up working relationships with these people. It's like, well, okay, hey, can you take a look? He's basically taken his writing group to another level.
Yeah, well, and just handing your art over to someone else is because our art is so personal by its nature. Like, Amy, could you imagine, like, halfway through a cosplay project, just handing it over and just being like,
hey, can you finish this?
That would be tough. There are some things that I would totally feel comfortable doing with it, but it would be because I know they do that particular thing so much better than me. And I actually, randomly, I bartered again today. So I had like a mannequin top half of a guy, like a guy mannequin, and I have a guy friend and he does foam work and I'm still very much figuring out foam work. And he's like, and I offered it to him and he's like, well, how much do you want for it? I'm like, just help me with some foam in the future and we'll be good. So, I mean, I would trust him to make me something foam wise and I would trust other people to do sewing things and I would do, just whatever else too. So it would be hard with the book.
See, yeah. Jordan, I was thinking when you were asking her about handing a cosplay to someone else, I was going to say maybe Amy hands one of her children to someone else and says, hey, can you finish raising them? But
she might do that.
There are some days where she might actually, take them up on that. So. No, her kids are great.
Isn't that why you make sure kids get friends so that you can send them over to their place and be like, hi, I need you to raise my kid for a couple hours.
It's a co-op.
Oh, man.
No. The other thing, because I actually have read the Alcatraz books, Bastile's voice is an interesting one to hit. So I can see why he would reach out, particularly since Jancy is the one who covered she's covering these other character voice novellas in the Skyward books.
Yeah, in the Side-Overs.
And so it's a similar angle with this next book in the Evil Librarian series.
I've read the first 2 or 3, but it's been forever since I've read them. And so I'm super fuzzy on
each one. They get better with each book, I feel.
Okay. Like we tried to have our kids read them a little bit and they just weren't getting into them yet. So we'll have to try again.
The funny part is I haven't read them, but I've given them away as a gift before.
That's right.
Gave it to my sister for her eldest.
I'm tempted to get it for my sister sometime just because she's a librarian, but
Is she an evil librarian though?
no.
Probably.
She's
They're
a
all
very
no.
nice librarian.
If you've read the book, they're all evil.
I know.
So there's not much of an update from last year. The first 5 books are coming out with new covers in 2022, culminating with the final book on September 20th. Final revisions for the book are in, and artwork is approved for the new covers of the early ones, so we should be super close. Now, if you read the post, he actually does have the art for the first book, the cover art for the first book shown. It's a far departure from the wannabe Harry Potter original cover.
Yeah, like I remember being okay with the first one, but looking at this one in comparison, I'm like, yeah, I like this better. And my husband agrees that he likes this artwork better.
It suits the series better. Like it's kind of clear when the book first came out, the publisher was kind of trying to go for the and I think the publisher actually was Scholastic, so who published the American versions.
I'm willing to bet
Potter.
almost all youth fantasy of that period is all trying to look like Harry Potter.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, if it's Harry Potter-ish, then hey, maybe they'll buy it.
I mean, everybody's.
I want my $1 billion book series. Let's get one of those. That shouldn't be too difficult.
Everybody keeps wanting to be the next Harry Potter, and I don't think we've gotten any that actually achieved it, but there have been several contenders vying for the spot. Your Twilights, your Hunger Games, your, what have yous.
Well, and
There's
those
a
are
bunch of like assassiny women teenage book things that I can't get into. Anyway.
But no, like there's a lot of really good book series that have done very well. But the success of Harry Potter is
It's insane.
It's so many, statistical deviations down the line. It's not something that can just be recreated. That's like being like, oh yeah, we should get one of those Michael Jordans or LeBron Jameses. Those are good. Let's draft one of those.
Okay.
It's like, well, I got bad news for you. There's only 2.
And they each have done a Space Jam movie.
Yes.
Oh.
Their release schedule is below, including the brand new 6th book. So May, book 1 will come out. June, book 2, The Scrivener's Bones. July, book 3, The Knights of Crystallia. August, book 4, The Shattered Lens. September, book 5, The Dark Talent. And also September, book 6, Bastille versus the Evil Librarians.
I like the symmetry in between the first and the last. Because
So
it's
what
Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians and then Bastille.
Well, originally it was Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, Alcatraz versus the Scrivener's Bones, Alcatraz versus the Knights of Crystallia. And so if you have, the original, the first 4 books, the original versions
3,
of them, it's Alcatraz versus each of those things. And then book 5 is when he shifted to the naming system. And it just says Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians is now the series. And
the first book, and
yeah, and then
it's just the shorter title.
But just looking at that means that Brandon has, just in this series alone, 6 books, 5 of them re-releases, coming out next year.
Well, I remember he did say that these are not his huge money makers, though, like compared to the other things.
Right, but who knows what a re-release will do? What a rebranding, because it looks completely different. It'll appeal to a completely different.
Well, and
group,
Brandon's
so.
also way later in his career, and here's the other thing: his readers are later in their lives than they used to be. And so let's say, Amy, You have now kids who, maybe now they're of the age, whereas the readers didn't before. And
they could read it. My youngest could read it himself, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would be as focused as he should be. Well, ADHD doesn't help there either, but he could read it.
Yeah,
and they're middle grade, and they're not.
And so I actually think tactically this is a very genius move on his part, because if there's anything nerds try and do with their kids, it's try and get them into the same things, because that's what parents do. Whether you're a jock or a nerd, you try and push your hobbies onto your children.
Well, shoot,
Yeah,
I've done this. I've given multiple nephews and nieces different books, different Brandon books, knowing that their taste would, I gave one of them the Reckoners, I gave one of them the Arithmetist, I gave one of them Alcatraz, I gave one of them the whole Cosmere. And so.
So I've given away the Monsters Don't Wear Underpants to both of my in-laws' kids, or on Josh's side, and then I had a thought and then it disappeared. But yeah, so books. And so we watched Lord of the Rings. We finished the movies with my kids this weekend. Finally, because they'd seen everything but Return of the King. So we finally finished that, and now they're going to watch all the Marvel movies finally. So, yeah, we start our nerds young.
Okay. Let's see, where was I? Dark
One.
A second Dark One graphic novel is in the works for those who enjoyed the first, but in case that's not your thing, you can go read the mainframe update above, where we're working on a prose version. That should be released first in audio, but Dan Wells is currently drafting from my original outline for that, and I've read some of his work on it, which has made me very excited. In the meantime, enjoy Dark One Forgotten, a shorter tie-in that Dan and I have created for release this fall. Elantris, Warbreaker, and Arithmetist.
Stop. Bill, did you get your hopes up before reading this?
I didn't.
Okay, good.
Because I knew what's been in the works. So, next year is when I'll get my hopes up.
Gotcha.
Nothing here again. Yes, Arithmetist fans, I hear you screaming at the screen.
Stop. I love that. But he's like, no, I know you're there. I know.
I screamed at the screen 10 years ago. I'm done screaming.
Oh, man.
At this point, I'm just like, if it ever comes out, I'll enjoy it.
If it comes, it'll be great. But
at this point, you're a Cubs fan.
At this point, it's book 3 of the King Killer Chronicle.
Oh, man. I still haven't read book 2.
Elantris Warbreaker sequels aren't planned until after Stormlight 5, as I've been saying for years now. Arithmetist might be a little closer than it was, as we've been researching potential co-authors who have knowledge and background in the real-world Aztec lore I'd like to incorporate in the book.
Stop.
So don't give up hope.
The real-life Aztec lore. It's immediately, I'm like, okay, I wasn't thinking Aztec with it. I was definitely thinking he was going to go more like a Navajo angle.
Well,
originally.
if he's going, I think it's south. It's more South America.
Yeah,
Aztec is South America, or is it more Mexico?
Aztec is like Mexico and that.
Yeah. And so I originally, just because I was imagining more, because I've seen them, more Navajo-looking hieroglyphs or petroglyphs. And so now that I know that he was thinking more Aztec lore, it's like, and it's starting to make me rethink how I was imagining Arithmetist.
Well, the next book is planned to be titled The Azatlanian.
Yeah.
And Azatlan is, tied to Aztec legend. So. And then there's talk of a possible third book, but I think he's combining them, because I've heard that the third one was going to be called The Nebraskan, which is amusing considering Brandon is from Nebraska.
From Nebraska.
I still find it absolutely hilarious that the dark, creepy tower in the Arithmetist universe is in Nebraska.
And then you have Supernatural fans who are like, oh, we know things happen there too. So yeah, that's fun.
I really hope when Brandon finally releases his autobiography, he does just call it The Nebraskan as well.
So don't give up hope. But like finishing Alcatraz, this is more a labor of love than a mainline series of mine, so it has to take a back seat to the main stories I'm telling. For those who are huge fans of the Arithmetist, while I understand that line, it also feels a little bit just, you're not as important.
Sorry.
I don't think
You
he
get a
meant
pat
it
on
that
the-
way, but it's just sort of a little deflating.
Yeah.
Songs of the Dead. Moving this one back to minor projects this year, though Peter O'Rulian is still working on it. This is one of the co-authored projects that has turned out to be a more difficult write. He spent this year on revisions of it, and I hope you'll all be able to read it someday, but we need to make sure it's working right first. This one has gone through so many iterations. Just for
This
those,
is the pizza delivery.
this was
necromancer
originally
one,
the
right?
Pizza Delivery Necromancer. Yeah, it was called Death by Pizza, and then it
That's
was
right.
Death but not by Pizza anymore.
And
And
then there
now
was,
it's
like, heavy
Songs of
metal
the
in it
Dead, and now
somewhere.
it's heavy metal. There's a metal, yeah. So this has gone through so many iterations. I'm interested to see what the final project is and if it's anything like the original concept. The Reckoners. If you didn't see that there's a new Reckoners novel out, then there's a new Reckoners novel out. It's called Lux, and I co-authored it with Stephen Michael Bowles, who was directly across from us at the...
He was nice.
Yeah, he's our new best friend.
He wasn't at his table much of the time, but because honestly, he didn't have any physical wares to
Like,
sell.
He
I
had,
really-
he had some bookmarks he cut out, I think.
I
but
really
that's
feel
about
like
it.
he was planning to be there a little bit at the start, and then he looked to his right and he looked to his left and saw the piles of books everyone else had and said, "Yeah, this feels weird. I'm gonna go
gonna
somewhere."
wander.
I'm a bounce.
No, but seriously, I really liked him, and
He was
again,
a
was
good,
fun.
like,
He
we had
was
some
nice.
good conversations.
yeah, and again, if you end up hearing the term
Neo-Pangea.
Neopangea, that's
Neopangea.
Bill. Bill got it in.
I gave him permission to use it. So, but honestly, I doubt he'll use it, but it's just,
It'd be fun.
it's fun to wish. Let's see. This was a mainframe project, and so it was an audio original. The reception was great, and the sales were great too, so I wouldn't be surprised if we did another one soon. But we're figuring out when and how to do this. Also, we plan a print edition sometime, but at the very least, an ebook should come out around the 1 year mark of the audio edition.
Yeah,
I was so glad when we talked to Stephen Michael Bowles and he was like, "Oh yeah, there's more planned." I'm like, "Oh good," because
Yeah,
it felt
oh.
like a horrible cliffhanger, and I
Oh.
couldn't take it.
It was a depressing cliffhanger.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
well, especially what's supposed to be a young adult series.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know if young adults can process this. I don't think they have the emotional bandwidth for.
I mean, I know they're dealing
I'm
with
a
lot
grown
of stuff
adult,
and all,
and
but
I'm not
Yeah.
processing it well.
And there's gonna be like, I know I said I'm an edgelord, but this hurts.
ow.
Now
The
I know
original.
life really is pain.
The original. This first of the mainframe projects will soon be getting an ebook release. So if you don't like audio, take heart. It's coming in January. I wrote it with the excellent Mary Robinette Kowal, and it's a kind of cyberpunk action mystery. Check out the pitch for it here, and there's a link in the post. White Sand. I am excited about this one.
Yes.
We should have the graphic novel Omnibus coming at you sometime in the near future. I hear that the individual original volumes are sometimes going for a lot of money, but I'd suggest not grabbing one of these, but waiting for this new edition. We've spent a lot of time making it the quintessential White Sand graphic novel experience, updating text and dialogue to be more in line with the Cosmere.
And
There are
hopefully
38 new-
removing that one random like jukebox that was in the background.
I don't remember a
remember that.
random
There
jukebox.
wasn't a jukebox. It was like there's like a radio receiver in the background of one of the the first, and it's just like, what is going on here? And the answer is poor communication is what's going on here.
Well, I thought radio receivers are for good communication.
Yeah, well, some people didn't get the memo.
There are 38 new pages at the beginning, revised text and art throughout, a new map and glossary, and 14 Ars Arcanum pages. We think you're really going to enjoy experiencing the complete package. I think this is going to make White Sand feel like a more proper part of the Cosmere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang it, now I have to buy it again. I mean, I was probably going to do it anyway, but now I really have
don't
to do it.
No, don't you? Brandon just told you to try and sell the ones you have.
No. I'd rather, I don't know. It's fine.
You're
I've
gonna
got-
you're
I can
gonna
make
you're gonna finance the buying of the omnibus.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Josh has a good job. We're fine.
I just don't want Jordan to steal my copies and sell them to finance his
Rent?
streams. Right. No, you cannot pay me with my own stuff.
I'm now paying you with your own books. This is different from the check incident.
This is a ransom. That's ransom.
I want you to understand something. We met Marcy. She's taken my side on this.
Oh, gosh.
Because
Marcy.
I'm the victim here, remember? I'm the victim.
You have her so snowed.
I doubt so. She's
I
from
wasn't there
Atlanta.
for this conversation.
All others. If there's something not on this list you're waiting for, then there's not really anything to update you upon. Other novellas and small projects continue to bounce around my brain, but I haven't had time for most of them lately. Part 5. Television, video game, and film updates.
Pause. This is where things get juicy. Things get so juicy here.
Yes.
Hey, the Wheel of Time television show is out. I don't agree with all the decisions made in the creation. Interjection. Neither do I. I only got partway through the first episode and said, I'm out. I have no interest. But, other people enjoy it as you will. And it includes some stuff that I find objectionable. That was Brandon.
Stop.
Yeah, I was so glad when I watched his spoiler stream and he was like, yeah, this is the part that bugged me. And I'm like, thank you. That part bugged me too. I hate fridging. Anyway, so we're watching it and I still haven't read most of book 2 and on. So I'm finding it helpful to have another way of
Amy, you
viewing
might
it,
want to
even though I
explain
know
what
there are
fridging
changes.
is for those who don't know.
Oh, so fridging, I'm not gonna get the wording quite right, but basically it's where you introduce a character solely for the purpose of killing that character to motivate your protagonist.
Yeah, so its origins...
So John Wick's wife is a good way of...
Well, so the trope namer is from a Green Lantern comic book series where they introduced a girl to be Kyle Rayner's wife, and then the bad guy killed her and shoved her into his fridge so that when he went home and opened the fridge, that's how he discovered it. And that's how we got the term fridging.
I was wondering where the fridge part came in, but...
Green
Yeah,
Lantern. Poor Kyle
that's-
Rayner.
Anyway, so I hate fridging, and it happens in there, and...
Texas Blade mentions Uncle Ben. I think Uncle Ben is a little bit of a different...
He's got more
Instance of
character development. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the problem with a lot of times with fridging is that you don't even really know the character's name very well. Like, you get it, the name, but
Yeah.
they're mostly motivation. You could trade them out for a really important plant or a really wonderful thing, or they don't have much.
The bunny
agency.
rabbit and Doom. It's
The
just...
bunny rabbit.
It
Yeah,
feels
I
a bit
mean,
more lazy. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Ben did get that development. You saw the relationship so that it was impactful. Fridging is more along the lines of, hey, here's this person they care about. Bam! And
Yeah.
it's just
And
sort
you only
of
know
like-
I care about them because I tell you that I care about them,
Yeah.
so that it's established, so that it matters to me for the instigating incident for everything else.
Yeah, well, because
So
it's
it's-
why in John Wick, killing of the dog, it's kind of okay because we spend some time building up that, oh, this was a present from his dead wife, and we
And
see
so I
him
mean,
take care
I
of
guess
it.
saying she got fridged is not a very good way of doing
Yeah,
it.
because
'cause
she's not the motivating factor. It's the fact
you don't
that,
get any screen time, but I always think of her,
It's-
even though it's not actually.
Yeah, it's actually the dog, and it's why everyone's perfectly comfortable. Like if it was her, people.
But
be
it's
like,
a puppy, so
yeah.
you just. Mm-mm.
If it was her,
Yeah.
people be like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this body count. As soon as it's a dog, it's just like, I better see mountains of bodies.
Kill everyone. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
Texas Blade makes an interesting point with fridging. Is that I knew she was dead as soon as I knew she existed, and that is kind of what.
I
how
feel
fridging
bad that I
works.
still don't remember what her name is. Even I'm like, I think it starts
That's
with an I.
kind
I don't know.
of the point.
I know, and
Yeah.
that's why I hate it. Anyway, so that's my
so-
thoughts.
I just found, so I'm just kind of impressed that he actually came out and said this.
Well, I remember he said that he was given, I think I must have watched another interview where he talked to somebody else, Daniel Green maybe, and he got to talk about how he's like, it was in my contract that I was allowed to disagree publicly with things.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And so I mean, so he's not risking getting in trouble because he has that. He's made sure he has that right to say it, but he's not
Good for
blatantly
him.
going around going, "It's terrible, it's terrible." He's going,
No,
"I disagreed
He's
with this
definitely
part."
being supportive of it, even though he disagrees with a lot of things that they did.
Yeah, well, so the reason I find it so interesting that he actually disagrees publicly with it is that he has other Hollywood projects he's trying to get pushed through. And if there's anything I've learned Hollywood does not like in their adaptations is they don't like noisy original creators. Because they can sink the project. Brandon being open about his objections to something actually will make it more difficult for him going forward to get his projects done. But that's probably a really good sign for us as fans, because it means we're not going to get projects that are going to piss off the fans probably.
Yeah, and it's if I find the link to that interview, I'll put it up, because it had some really nice conversation about what happened with that. So anyway,
all right.
Wheel of Time.
But like I said, he is being supportive. He says,
he was saying good things about them too. He just said, I disagree
Right.
with this and this and this.
He goes on and says, however, I do like the team working on it, and I feel they've listened to my voice, as I've advocated for a lot of things behind the scenes. You can read some of my spoilers thoughts on the Wheel of Time subreddit here, and here, link, link, link. Overall, I think they're doing a great job. Mistborn. I'm still developing in a hands-on way a Mistborn feature film. I've written a treatment, some actual scenes, etc. I can't tell you much about it other than that I feel very good about the motion on this for the first time ever, as I have some really excellent partners on the project.
And that's all we know.
The Stormlight Archive. Likewise, I've been working very hands-on in creating the Stormlight Archive as a premium cable television show. This is with Dan Mintz and DMG, who has had the rights forever. I've enjoyed my time working with him and have enjoyed his thoughts as a partner. I think this will happen someday, though I'm not sure when and with whom.
I really like that it's a show, not a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because...
Yeah, it's too much.
There's just so much in this. I mean, each book is over 1,000 pages.
I still would greatly prefer if this was an animated series. That's the hill I'm willing to die on here, is that I just feel
Right.
Stormlight Archive will not work in live action because there's too much of our brains that'll say that's not right.
And the CG, I mean, you can have CG work as well, but CG is always going to get better. And then you have the problem of you look back on some CG from 10, 15, even 10, 5 years ago, and it doesn't look right. And
Either
it
that, or
ages
it's going to
quickly.
it's going to require a budget that
It is
will
insane.
make a
Yeah.
10-book series just impossible to make happen. That said, I'm glad they're not trying to start one now, because I don't want it to go Game of Thrones.
And
Get to the point,
yeah.
catch up to what the author's written and then go off the rails.
We have to sit and wait, yeah.
And the way it's going, if they do try to adapt something, you can just adapt books 1 through 5. Heavens knows there's more than enough material there to keep you busy for a decade if you so desired.
Well, and the other thing is that, there's supposed to be 10, 15, 20-year gap between the first 5 and the second 5. So if they do 1 through 5, and then it takes him 15, 20 years to write the next 5, hey, time to pick it back up again.
I mean, you'd have some interesting things matching up some of the characters to make it through both series, but you could find people who look close-ish.
And
Well, what I'm
that's
saying
why
is-
I think animated is the best way to go.
Well, no, what I'm saying is 15 years later, the actors will have aged 15 years.
Well, yeah, but it's...
And so you can pull in, it's almost like a built-in version of these like sequel series where they come back and follow the characters 10, 15, 20 years later. I don't know that that's the way it's going to happen or anything. I just find it amusing that technically that would work.
Yeah.
Other properties, film and television. Other things are moving slowly behind the scenes, but I wouldn't say that anything else is very far along. The pandemic slowed down a lot of Hollywood for various reasons.
Boy,
Other
that's
projects-
an understatement.
Yeah. Other projects, video games. I've been working on a video game for several years, and I suspect it will be announced this year. So commence speculation. Note, it's not for one of my properties, but something new that I built with them. It's a game company many of you will have heard of, but probably not the one you're thinking about right now. Not that other one either.
I hate it when he does this because that's just so cheap.
It's like, but I want to know.
Whatever.
Honestly,
I still say it's still epic. I don't believe you, Brandon. I bet it is the one I'm thinking of. They put Kelsey in her suit into Fortnite. I don't believe you. I already know you have
thinks-
connections.
Part of me thinks we're getting Infinity Blade 3
I still haven't read any of that.
because, he did the two books for Infinity Blade. And so he's been working on that for years.
But those are the first two that we would think.
Well, I mean, but he's saying it's not for one of my properties, so it makes me think that it's something different.
Never mind. It says, but something. Well, Infinity Blade isn't one of his properties.
Oh, but
he
why
does
wouldn't
say,
he
but
say
something new that I built with them. And
Yeah,
it's
so it makes
probably
me
not
think it's
Infinity
probably
Blade.
not that.
No, it's Infinity Blade. Dying on this hill. No, I'm not dying on that hill.
All the hills, guys. So many corpses.
Part 6, licensed projects. I'll let Isaac Stewart update you on this section. Jordan or Amy, which one of you wants to be Isaac?
I'll tap in because I haven't read yet. So there's a lovely picture of some minis of Kaladin and Shallan, and they look lovely, and I want them. So Brotherwise Games, the team that created Call to Adventure, the Stormlight Archive, would like to announce a new project, Stormlight Miniatures. They're working very closely with Isaac and the Dragonsteel team to create official sculpts of more than 20 characters. The miniatures will be standard scale, 28mm to 32mm, unpainted but highly detailed. The project will head to Kickstarter in summer of 2022. You can sign up for more information at the Brotherwise Games website, and there's a link.
All I know is this is far too late for our good friend Aryan, who had a character he based in his D&D campaign on Shallan. And it's like, how
and
many
now
years?
there's going to be a mini.
Yeah, now there's a mini. It's like, I needed this years ago.
Come on!
This, in my opinion, says a lot about the Brandon Sanderson fandom because they're making miniatures without a game.
Just making minis. It'd be
And
fine.
people are going to line up to buy these.
Maybe
there is no
literally
game
if they
for
sell
it.
them at Dragonsteel convention.
Absolutely.
Oh boy. So, the
So.
King's Wild Project. Jackson and Robinson and co. at the King's Wild Project have created a fantastic deck of Mistborn playing cards that are currently up for pre-order. They visited a few months ago and filmed some of Brandon's reactions to the cards themselves. Link.
Stop. Have you watched that video?
I have not.
Yeah.
These
I watched
things
it. I
are
watched this
gorgeous.
They are pretty.
They've got like
Oh,
each of
I'm now
the different
looking at the
suits is
pictures. Holy crap.
each of the different suits is a different type of metallic foil.
I glanced at them, but then I'm like, but I don't know where I'd put them. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, that's the thing is I only have so much room on my shelves.
Yeah.
Holy
And I have
crap,
other
these
interests
things
that
are so good looking.
they're absolutely stunning. So I recommend that y'all go check
Take a
them out.
look. It's pretty.
So
So, Nauvoo Games ran a Kickstarter in late 2020 for the Reckoners Steel Slayer expansion to their Reckoners game.
I
They have
backed
some
that.
I'm not surprised. They have some nicely detailed updates on their Kickstarter page, including a way to lock in a late pledge. The game is being shipped internationally, and the latest update from November has some specifics for what to expect depending on the continent. The Black Piper. The producers of the Kaladin album are waiting on their hardcover art books to arrive and will send them to backers soon after that. They're unable to sell the exclusive hardcover edition outside of the Kickstarter, but for the Dragonsteel convention in November, they were able to make available some softcover versions as a bundle with the album. Some of the second edition softcover art book / album bundles are still available for a limited time, and there's a link. Here's a list of our other licensees in case you would like to check out some of the awesome things they're doing. Graphic Audio, Badali Jewelry, Crafty Games, Shire Post Mint, Forged Foam, Dragon Woodshop. Stop. So I actually, for my Vin cosplay, I haven't put many pictures up of them, but I got some of the coins from Shire Post Mint, and they are super pretty. They're Scadrian coins. I got like dirty ones and clean ones. They're so pretty. And
So
Badali
question.
Jewelry, like their stuff's all super pretty.
Oh, they have some amazing Elantris
It's like all sorts
jewelry.
of. They've got like Wheel of Time stuff. They've got like a whole bunch of different fantasy genres.
Are they the ones who did the metal vials? I think they have pendants with metals vials.
Yeah,
from
they have
Mistborn.
lots of. They have Mistborn things. They have tons of different things.
Yeah, they do a lot of really good stuff.
And hey,
They've
if
liked
you,
my posts too. It's nice.
I was gonna say, if you were one of the people who came by our booth and saw Bill's Scadrian dice, that link to Crafty Games that on the State of the Sanderson, that's the one. That's the one we were telling you about.
there.
You go there
Go
for
there.
it.
Yes.
They're the ones you give your money to.
We would take it, but we don't have anything to give you of that sort, so it's a problem.
Part 7, Store and Leatherbound updates. And now an update from Kara. Jordan, I want you to match Kara's energy level with this.
Just one sec. Need to lubricate the throat.
Oh, I thought you were going to get just down tons of caffeine.
Well, I mean, I could do my voice changer, but it's not going to be that useful. All right. We've had a busy but amazing year. The first half of 2021 was focused heavily on fulfilling rewards for pledges made during our 2020 The Way of Kings 10th Anniversary Leatherbound Edition Kickstarter campaign. We shipped tens...
Okay, first off, Kara, if you listen, this is not an imitation of you. This is an attempt to match your energy level, which none of us have ever been able to do. So please...
I've had moments. Anyway, continue.
Not at the sustained way that she's able to do it.
All right. Sorry, that's right. I'm trying to get, if it's the impression of her, I need to do karate in the middle of this as well.
No impressions. Like,
because we have audio people too.
Yeah. So just...
Yeah. All right. We ship tens of thousands of packages all around the world and are proud that the majority of our backers received their rewards within a year of making their pledge. Many of these items are now available on our store for those who may have missed the Kickstarter campaign, and the Way of Kings Leatherbound will continue to go in and out of stock as we sell out and reorder them. Note, the next printing currently in production will not be signed by Brandon. Speaking of our online store, we have rebranded and are now Dragonsteel Books. You will still receive the great service and products, but we are positioning ourselves to continue to grow and provide a wider array of products in future years. Watch our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, for announcements of the new products and events, restocks on your favorite products, and more. We might have some fun surprises in store.
Stop. Speculation?
I'm really hoping they do a Sunni Cub, but I don't think they will.
There's no way.
It'd be fun.
No.
So
Kara
I
has
remember
shot down
I remember Brandon said that he really wants to have one that like flips out and like has like can turn into a mist wraith kind of
like a popple.
Yeah, type thing. And I'm sitting there going, dang it, now I have to try and figure out how to do that. But I have no guarantee that I can actually figure that out, because I actually got my son, I got him one of those little octopuses that flips inside out. But that's a really simple one.
Do you remember popples, Amy?
Yes, I do.
Use those for inspiration, because I would say instead of flipping inside out, the outside in looks more amorphous and blobby. And so flipping
so have the inside like have like some way to, yeah, okay.
So you kind of compact the pup into the amorphous blob.
And the amorphous blob can be skinny and fat and whatever else. So it doesn't matter as much for that. So, okay. Anyway, continue.
One of our proudest moments of the year was Dragonsteel 2021, the first multi-day event held in conjunction with the release of Cytonic, the third installment of Brandon's Sightover series. We had 2 days of games, panels with experts and fans, live painting sessions, puzzles, cosplays, and exhibitors from our Brandon-affiliated authors, artists, and partner vendors. Our personal favorite was the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. We look forward to doing something
Jordan,
like
stop.
What?
Don't put words in her mouth.
That's
I don't want to get another. I don't want to get another email from the Dragonsteel lawyers.
Hush! I'm speaking for her.
They did like us, but they did not put that in the thing.
Okay,
this is not it.
Legally binding, legally actionable. We're the best friends. Anyway, let's see. We look forward to doing something like this again. Stay tuned for future announcements, and we'll be staying tuned because that was awesome. Have we talked enough about how awesome it was? Do you think maybe?
I mean, we had a whole podcast episode about it.
And then another one. Let's see. Okay. Did I mention the future? This year, we've restocked the leather-bound books of The Way of Kings, Mistborn, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages. I'm going to stop here because that's actually kind of incredible. Especially with the supply chain issues that...
and they had to change their leather, too.
Yeah. Because that was something the editing panel talked about, like why they have to hit these deadlines, especially for the leather bounds, is just there's currently a shortage of book-worthy leather. And so if you don't hit your deadlines, they'll give your spot to someone else because they only have so many that they can fulfill.
Also, in conjunction with the sentence you just read the next sentence.
Yeah. Let's see, where was I? We are actively working on another restock of these books, as well as Elantris and Warbreaker.
Okay, so this year they have already restocked those books, and they are currently working on another restock. Why? Because they sell out so fast.
Yeah, I still need all the Mistborn. I need the first Mistborn trilogy in leather still.
These
I
aren't
have all the
cheap
other
books.
ones.
No, they're not.
They are not. They're not cheap
And the
books.
Warbreaker in particular is just so gorgeous.
That was my
Well,
Christmas present like 2 years ago.
Warbreaker is gorgeous. I'm still just awestruck by the Way of Kings.
They're all so good.
It's just unbelievable.
Sorry. However, we are excited to announce that in late 2022, we will be debuting the leather-bound editions of The Alloy of Law and Shadows of Self. These books will be individually bound and initially sold as a bundle for $150, which is a steal at that. After the first printing is sold out, future printings will be sold separately for $100 each, like our other leather-bound books. Watch for pre-orders of these books to open up sometime next year. I noticed it says pre-orders, not Kickstarter.
Yeah, so Kickstarter is reserved for the Stormlight books.
Yeah. And so
the Stormlight leather rounds.
I just find it interesting. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Since 2022 will also include the release of a print edition of the Skyward Flight collection, the 6th book in the Alcatraz series, and the Lost Metal, watch our store for potential signed books and swag bundles for these 3 titles. We hope you will join us.
So again, the 6
leather.
Alcatraz books, the Lost Metal, the Skyward Flight collection. Brandon's got a lot coming out just next. It's like, this is like early Brandon pacing.
Yeah. Now, granted, the 6 Alcatraz books, 5 of them are re-releases, but even still.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's the reason that Brandon was able to get early Brandon pacing, is because he was, pulling stuff that he had already written and was polishing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just impressive that Brandon will technically be releasing 6, 7, 8 books next year.
Yeah.
3 of them new.
And every other fantasy writer just looks at him sideways and says, "You're killing me, dude. You're killing me."
Pat Rothfuss has said several times that he wants to eat Brandon's liver to steal his power.
I remember what was it, I think it's Daniel Green on YouTube has done like little skits where he pretends to, he has a friend pretend to be Brandon and like do that same thing with the other fantasy authors going, "Stop it. You're too fast."
Yep.
Well, look,
All right.
Don't like it? Build your own Sanderbot.
Part 8, Translation Projects. Peter here with a worldwide update. Since Elantris was published in 2005, Brandon's reach has expanded every year. As of now, his books have been translated into 35 different languages and have sold over 21 million copies. The newest language releases coming up include Arabic, Mistborn and Legion, Persian, Warbreaker, and Bengali, Legion. It's an exciting time to be a Sanderson fan. Brandon's German and French publishers sent along some announcements, so if you read those languages, you're in for a treat. So these are more of just a bulleted list, which I would recommend that you go in and read yourself.
If you are interested, that you look for like German and French.
No, I'm going to pause here because there's one I want to read. I just want on, is this for Warbreaker in German? Sturmklange, or however it's said. Just like, man,
I don't know how to say that.
Sturmklange.
All I know is Warbreaker sounds so much cooler in German.
It's funny. Like, I don't speak any German really, but it always seems like there's the stereotype of everything sounds more intimidating in German, and it's fun.
Well, it's like the rhythm of war with the Der Reimus des Krieges.
And the Rhythm of War Part 2, the Turn der Lichter.
Lichter.
And if I slaughtered that, I am so
But my
sorry.
favorite is the original, Das Original.
Original. I'm sure they say it differently because my daughter's learning Spanish, and so like she'll say a word in Spanish, and I look at it and go, "It looks just like this English word, but you said it in a weird way. What is up with?" But I'm like, okay, it's Spanish. They enunciate and do that.
Just so you know, Sturmklange from German literally is just the sound of the storm.
Ooh, that's cool. Vasher gets a fun name. Which makes sense. Klung, and Storm.
Klange.
Storm.
clang.
It's the sound that Nightblood makes when you throw him on the ground for evil people to murder each other with.
Sturmklange.
Come touch me so I can kill you. Sorry.
Can
I like
can
Nightblood.
one of our listeners just go in and cut that little bit out?
I
just
really
said it,
thought
'cause-
So Many Corpses was going to be the title today, but
Come touch
Apparently
me
I'm
so I
coming-
can kill you.
Guys.
In
oh
a
my
sing-song
goodness.
voice, by the way.
You just got to do little music notes next to it and it'll be fine. Same meaning. It's great. It's not
Okay.
a question mark. It's just
oh, yeah, I just
Statement.
mistyped. Don't worry.
Moving
Okay,
forward.
anyway.
Part 9, YouTube
Wow.
projects. Now, here's Adam with his update.
Do you want
We
me to
have
read
some
that?
new... if you want to, go for it.
We have some new and exciting things happening on YouTube right now. We recently started a new series called Five Favorites, where Brandon and a guest discuss their 5 favorite somethings. So far, we've been fortunate enough to have Will Friedel, Brandon Mole, Kevin J. Anderson, and Daniel Green. I knew it was Daniel Green. We have some exciting guests planned for next year, and I look forward to seeing your reactions. You can watch all of the released episodes here. Link. And
Well,
in
the
case
link
you
has
missed it,
a line through it.
they have some of the. I think there's some weird script stuff going on because it had it through some of the translation things too. So and in case you missed it, I'm sorry if you did. We recently did a giveaway for the 12 workdays of Christmas, which concluded during the spoiler live stream last week. Link. Where we gave away a bunch of awesome stuff, including signed sets of books, 2 Rhythm of War advanced reading copies arcs, and we capped it off with a full set of our leather-bound book collection. Across the whole campaign, nearly 100,000 of you entered to win, which really shows how awesome you all are. And I wish I could send something to all of you.
And for
Will
the
be
record,
occasion-
if anyone in the viewing audience won anything and you didn't tell us, just know that is really, really not cool. You need to send us pictures.
But I'm still happy for you.
Yeah, we're
We'd
happy
love
for
to,
you.
We'd love to give you a shout out and be excited for you.
Yeah, I actually entered 2 of them, and I obviously didn't win.
No,
But
so
I hoped.
So this is a complete aside. When Team Fortress 2 was having its Golden Wrench event, someone in our clan got a wrench. They only gave away 100 to all TF2 people. He got wrench number 001, the very first
What?
one. And so it was just this awesome moment because we're all celebrating, oh my goodness, Nessie got number 1 and freaking out. And so you're our clan. So if you got one of these, understand this is the Golden Wrench. Send us a picture.
We'll be occasionally doing more of these types of giveaways, so if you don't want to miss one, be sure to follow Brandon across all his social channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube in particular is the best place to keep a close eye on what Brandon's working on. So if you're interested in following that, be sure to subscribe there. If you only want to know about the big stuff that's happening, subscribing to his newsletter is probably the best option for you, as we only send a few out each year.
Part 10, the Lightweaver Foundation. And this is Brandon's sister, Jane.
She was in the booth next to us.
She was in the booth
really
next to
nice.
us, and she was just one of the sweetest people you could ever hope to meet. She says, Jane here with our Lightweaver update. Thank you to everyone who donated this year to our annual holiday ornament fundraiser. This year we were able to raise $42,328 for the school zone at the Primary Children's Miller Family Campus in Lehigh, Utah. We appreciate every donation and are amazed at the fan support this year. Ornaments are currently in production and will be shipped by the end of January 2022. We also want to thank Malkier Talks, who ran a 24-hour WOTA holiday
Wheel of
charity
Time, I'm
live
guessing.
stream. Their efforts brought in a total donation to the Lightweaver Foundation of $10,752. Thank you again for all your support this holiday season and year. We are excited for what 2022 has to bring. Part 11, the projected schedule.
Dun, dun,
Last year, I suggested this schedule for the next few years. Fall 2021, Skyward 3. Spring 2022, Alcatraz 6. Fall 2022, Wax and Wane 4. Spring-Summer 2023, Skyward 4. And Fall 2023, Stormlight 5. Well, I got Skyward 3 out, and I have finished Wax and Wane 4, and am close to finishing Skyward 4. The only change there that seems likely is that Alcatraz 6 is going to come out at the very end of summer, and the very first 5 Alcatraz books are getting a re-release first. Adding in a few other things, my release schedule looks like this. December 28th Evershore, the third Skyward novella, ebook and audio. January, the original ebook. February, Dawn Shard audiobook. This is not firm. This is in all caps.
Either way, that is still 3 straight months with some form of content that he's planning on releasing. Like,
Yep.
It's starting to sound more like a YouTube channel than an author.
Oh, it's crazy.
April, Skyward Flight hardcover collection. May, Alcatraz 1 paperback release. June, Legion, Death and Faxes, Alcatraz 2, and the Alcatraz 2 paperback. So 2 things in June. July, Lux, The Reckoner's ebook, and Alcatraz 3 paperback. August, Alcatraz 4 paperback. September, Bastille versus the Evil Librarians, Alcatraz 6, in hardcover, ebook, and audio, Alcatraz 5 paperback. October, Dark One Forgotten audio. November, The Lost Metal, Wax and Wane 4, in hardcover, ebook, and audio. It says, I'll be spending the entire year writing Stormlight 5, so you can follow along, as always, with the percentage bars on my website.
I so hope he does the final push again. That was so much fun.
Oh, that was the Brandon watch?
All we're doing is really, come on, fill up the bar. Fill up the bar.
Man,
It's a great way to fill up bars.
No, this is a big year for Brandon. Like, this is a huge year for Brandon.
I will now officially declare 2022 the year of the Sanderson.
Thus begins the 1,000-year rule.
Well, how else are we going to celebrate the 1,000-year reign?
Yeah, be great.
Oh, man. Part 12, conclusion. Phew, that's something, isn't it? Reading through all of that, you might think I'm stretched a little thin. However, the bulk of this is centered around letting me focus my attention on the Cosmere. The co-authored mainframe projects are ways for me to tell stories with the help of talented writers, scratching the itch of storytelling these stories, while leaving me with more time to devote to things like Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive. Hosting a convention instead of going on tour is much, much easier on me. It lets people come to me rather than me flying around to meet people in small groups.
And thus his ulterior motive has been exposed.
You know, considering we're local, I really don't mind.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely the beneficiaries of this.
I mean, I have to drive like a whole half hour. It's terrible.
I know. It's Amy, and literally, we need to talk about the sacrifice you've had to go through for this.
I know. So tough.
Not our viewers who came from Wisconsin and Virginia. Amy.
I know. A whole half hour drive.
I know.
Whole half hour.
And I had to carry the battery.
Anyway, the battery
that's right.
debacle.
Jordan is charging Amy with battery.
Kind of am, aren't I?
Yeah.
Having the YouTube channel instead of going out to a lot of different Comic Cons lets me be available to fans, but also allows me to sign stacks of pages at the same time, so it's not cutting into what would otherwise be writing time. Now, I have no idea if all these things are things that he's planning to, make the norm as replacements moving forward. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if it goes that way, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go that way. So,
I do
who knows
hope
what his.
I do hope he does continue this because, I mean, obviously,
I just know that there's other people all around the world who would like for him to visit them, because honestly, it's not easy for everybody to get out here.
It's not.
Oh, yeah.
At the same
Now, that
time,
said, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to grow to the point where it no longer fits in the Provo Convention Center, and suddenly we end up in the Salt Palace in where
In Salt Lake,
FanX is every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it just, you know what, like, that I remember when, was it last year or the year before, where Brandon sent out that poll where he was asking everyone, hey, what, I'm having to
What would you like?
I'm
Yeah.
having to make some tough choices here. What would you like? And I think what we're seeing is Brandon, because Brandon is, and I quote, an awesome dude. He's definitely trying to accommodate the fans in a way that doesn't compromise his ability to get out the products that made us his fans in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one thing that most celebrities suddenly have issues with, is suddenly the thing that made them popular is they don't have time for anymore because they're being pulled in all these directions. And, not to throw him under the bus, but look at George R.R. Martin. When Game of Thrones, the TV series, really took off, he suddenly got all these other opportunities. And I personally feel, as a fan, that it seems to me that a lot of it has, gotten in the way of the thing that originally made him popular. Now, more power to him, go get what you want to try out. You only get one life. Do what you find most interesting. But Brandon is kind of just so focused on making sure we keep getting these stories, and it's so interesting to see how he's altered how everything moves in this giant machine that he's built, so that he can try and still kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Again, Brandon wouldn't be able to do everything he does if he hadn't built up the team around him that he has.
Yeah.
And this entire thing really highlights that. I mean, how many people have talked in this newsletter?
At least like 4 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's only the handful of people who are
Brandon,
talking versus how many he has.
Kara, Peter,
Peter,
Jane,
and then Max
and his foreign publishers.
Yeah,
or was it
Max?
So it's like 7 plus of the foreign.
I'm up to 6.
Well, then the foreign publishers.
So like there was German and French.
So.
Lots. 7-ish.
Yeah.
And that's just the state of the Sanderson, which used to be just a letter that he wrote.
No.
So far, it's been working well. All of this is why, for example, I've been able to dedicate more time to the Mistborn and Stormlight adaptations. I worry more about overwhelming all of you than I do about overwhelming myself, though admittedly, that second one is also a danger. I'm trying to make sure I have a good work-life balance so that I can continue telling stories as long as you all are willing to put up with me. A strange and very ephemeral year, though it's been, I'm still honored to be your storyteller. Thank you for supporting me, my work, and my team. Here's to many more and a year of working on Stormlight. Brandon. Oh, that was a marathon.
It was, but I liked it.
But this is one of the coolest ones he's ever released, just because
there's just so much going on right now.
Yeah, well, we got a little bit of controversy with his, statement on Wheel of Time. We got to see his team once again step out forward as Brandon continually highlights just how awesome a team that he has. And
I like that he does that because he's pushing his team to do their own things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's encouraging them in their, Brandon was very supportive of for example, Isaac's Monsters Don't Wear Underpants project.
Yeah. Well, and talking to, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name, wrote Lux.
Oh, Michael
Bowles?
Bowles, that's what Bowles.
Yes.
I was going to say Michael Rhodes, but I think that's a wrestler. Talking to him, it was very clear to, as he talks, how much Brandon encourages him in his own writing and to tackle projects that he's passionate about.
Yep. It's a really cool attitude that he's built around this whole idea. He doesn't necessarily want it to be all around him.
Yeah.
He's building
Stephen
an
Michael
empire.
Bowles is the name.
He's building an empire, but he's setting up little kingdoms within that empire.
And at some point, Kara will rule all of it.
Indeed.
And it'll be glorious.
At a certain point, we all work for Kara.
And we'll be happier for it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We do love hearing from our listeners, so keep on sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your ideas for topics you want us to discuss. And while you're at it, we'd love to hear your feedback about how you think we're doing, as well as any interesting theories you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. You can send all questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and we could hopefully read that as part of the show. Or, if you'd prefer to send us a physical letter, we do have a P.O. Box at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We've got our own personal projects. So Jordan, why don't you lead us off and tell us what you've got going on right now?
Sure. I am over here on twitch.tv/splicestream, where I don't see enough of you guys. It's not Bill and Amy. I see them all the time. It's great. No, you guys. We need more of you, because we're doing some fun stuff with Amiibo and Smash Brothers, in particular taking them on, as we continue our project to stave off the robot apocalypse, one Amiibo fight at a time. The other thing I'm doing is, next time you guys hear me, hopefully it's after I've driven back, so if you all could just put a good word in for me and my brother's safe drive back to Utah, that'd be useful for me. So, whichever deity you prefer, just, put in a good word for me. I need it.
Happy thoughts.
Happy thoughts. Yeah, because I go with both of my rigs and a lot of stuff in the back seat, so it's a high leverage situation.
Indeed. Amy, how about you?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is Coincidence Cosplay. And I actually, and my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. So I actually got my 4th TikTok video up because I got a Nazgul sword from Builderand of Punished Props, which is freaking amazing. And I
joined the TikTok apocalypse.
Yes, it's terrible. I'm terrible at making content but I have one where I did a transition. I snapped, and then it looks like something happened, and it's cool. I'm doing rudimentary TikTok video editing. Yes, I need to do more of that.
I'm sorry for everyone. We're really proud of Amy because she's been slowly working on this little process. We've helped just a little bit here or there, and it's nice to see.
Do that, Amy. Yeah, I think for when I did do my YouTube videos, you made my little cover screen thing.
Yeah,
you gave me the base for that because I'm me in Photoshop, we're having issues. I have a hard time with it. So anyway, that's what I did. So I'm gonna try and finish up my Nazgul because I have my left gauntlet. I need my right and my boot covers that I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, I need my boot armor.
I have to know something, Amy.
Echo,
is the reason you're doing this Nazgul, is it because you lost to that one Nazgul costume all those years ago in the Quark costume Halloween contest?
No, I don't think I ever competed in the costume contest. I'm doing this because the Pop-Tart Secret Santa, I got a Nazgul.
I'm sorry, did you say Pop-Tart Secret Santa?
Prop-Tarts.
Oh, okay.
Anyways,
you got yourself a sponsorship deal with Pop-Tarts and you didn't tell us?
No, but it's cool. Their logo is really funny. It looks like EVA foam with Pop-Tart goo oozing out, which sounds gross, but it looks cool. Anyway, but if you look up Pop-Tarts, it's fun. And so I found I was getting the sword, and I was like, I need to finish my Nazgul, which has been sitting stopped for a while. So I have the left one done, the right one's, I just need to finish it, and then I found a pattern for the boots. So I'm just then I can just finish my Nazgul and feel better about my life. And then I'll probably put up other random stuff too. So yes, that's me. Ta-da!
Yay!
And I notice you're wearing your festive gloves today.
I am wearing, because my hands get cold. And Bill just put up a thing in the chat. It's funny. Anyway.
And as for me, I do have another podcast. My friend Dylan and I talk about board games. It's called The Innkeeper's Table, and we've got new episodes every Friday morning. Our most recent episode was a spotlight on the game Concept, which is basically like a board game version of charades. Trust me, it actually works.
Okay.
And then our next episode coming up is we discuss our top 3 games that came out in 2021. I do have several board game reviews over on www.innkeeperstable.com, and occasionally even I'll post about games on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Innkeeper's Table or at Innkeeper's Table Podcast. For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you cannot become a patron, we'd love it if you just let your friends know about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you want to toss us a good review anywhere you listen, we would absolutely love that too. Guys,
Really helps.
Final thoughts on the state of the Sanderson 2021.
it feels like even with as many reveals as we got, it feels like there were less giant surprises because he's been doing so many YouTube videos and keeping us up to date. But it's still really nice to get it just all laid out and get extra details.
Yeah, there were a lot of things talked about, but you're right. A lot of them are things that he has hinted at during the YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm. And they're really short. They're like 2 or 3 minutes usually. They're not super long videos.
Oh, well, I was thinking those videos as well as the long signing videos. As well.
Yes, like I'm meaning the short weekly updates as well, and then he has like big spoiler stream, and then there was other random non-spoilery streams too.
True.
Yeah, no, he is just kind of an impressive guy beyond the books he writes, which is something that, you know, not everyone can say.
Absolutely. All right. Special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. We don't need Stormlight to work laundry magic. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/innkeeperstable every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile at Cosmere Studies. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for the show, email them to cosmerestudies@gmail.com. Our next episode will be episode number 100. And to help us celebrate, author Charlie N. Holmberg is going to come back on the show as a guest and play Bring Your Own Book with us. We're going to be using Cosmere books, and it should be a lot of fun. So join us for the live recording and help us kick off the new year and the next 100 episodes right on January 3rd, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/innkeeperstable. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's always another secret.